It's called sexting, and it's estimated 20% of teenagers have sent or received nude photos.
And while they know it's not right, most kids and parents don't realize just how wrong it is.
Your teen could be charged with a felony.
It can ruin their chances for college and jobs.
And it can haunt them for years if they have to register as a sex offender.
It's happening everywhere, and your teen is at risk.
Even if they just save or forward a photo.
Learn all you can.
And talk to your kids.
Cell phones, perhaps one of the best inventions of the century, right? Hi, I'm Channel 3's Ramona Robinson. We use our phones for everything. We're connected constantly, which gives us a lot of freedom. But that freedom comes with responsibility. You need to be aware of just how dangerous some cell phone behaviors can be. So for the next few minutes, take a look at what the experts want you to know.
Sexting is pornography, and it's done under the code of disseminating pornographic material to a minor. If you take a picture of yourself and send it to somebody, that person may send it to 2 people, that other person may send it to 10 people, and it's on the internet, and your life is changed for the rest of your life.
The sad thing is that these phones nowadays, they're pretty much all inclusive. They can be used as a camera, they can be used as a computer, they can be used as a calculator. So now they have this little piece of equipment that can be used for all these things, and there are consequences to using it for things that it shouldn't be used for.
The typical scenario would be the young girl, the 14 or 15-year-old girl, or even younger, who would be convinced by her 16 or 17-year-old boyfriend to take pictures of herself and send them to her. On the other hand, the other side of the spectrum, some of these photographs were taken by people who had an extremely high opinion of themselves, and they just thought the whole world needed to see these types of photographs.
A young girl might think she's innocently taking a nude photo of herself and sending it to her boyfriend or to a friend, thinking that only that person is going to see it. Unfortunately, that's not what's happening out there. That friend will forward it on, and then it goes to the next person and the next person, and eventually the police get involved in that situation.
This conduct, and that's possessing, creating, or disseminating, that's passing on photographs of juveniles who are nude or partially nude, is a felony offense.
The felony charge that applies to both the juveniles and the adults is relatively simple. Either you send a nude photo, you take the nude photo. If you take a nude photo of yourself and you send it to somebody, you are also violating the law. If you possess a nude photo, so if somebody sends it to you and you open it, you are in possession of that photo, and you could be found guilty of this crime.
You would think that you would have to do something more than just possess or view, but that's the way the statute is worded. My best advice to a juvenile is if you get something and you're unsure of the content, is just to delete it. The problem comes is when you open it, possess it, and view it, and then it becomes an issue as it relates to criminal involvement.
What you should do is tell your parents immediately, don't even bring the camera or the phone to school. Call your local police department and go from there. If it's a student at the school, if you recognize the student, then contact the school administration and notify them of what happened, and you could tell them that the police have been notified, and let the police handle the rest and go from there.
The law enforcement authorities are so far ahead of the game that you'll never be able to hide this. Once somebody traces this back to you, you're going to be guilty because the evidence is right there on your cell phone, and all these records can be obtained and they can't be altered. So you're committing a crime for which you're just about handing over the entire case to the prosecutor to prosecute you with.
As a prosecutor, we learn that it happens after somebody has been arrested and has been brought down to the juvenile detention facility. If they're under age 18, if they're 18 or over, they've been brought to the county jail, and we will get police reports and we will develop a file. Some kids will say once they are in trouble with a very serious crime against them, will say, well, I didn't do anything wrong, I'm not guilty because I didn't know. I didn't know that what I was doing was a serious crime. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, that doesn't matter.
If we're talking about a case in juvenile court, there are no juries. So it would be heard simply in front of a judge. Prosecutor would present his evidence. You would have the chance to defend that evidence, and a judge would make a determination as the finder of fact as to whether or not there's a delinquency finding or not. If you're found delinquent in juvenile court, the penalties can range up to confinement to your 21st birthday. There can be a minimum of 6 months confinement. There can be somewhere in the area of a year, depending on the level of felony involved.
The consequences not only could include a conviction and a sentence to a juvenile prison, it'll also include, and it's mandatory, that you register as a sex offender. In the best case scenario, the registration lasts 3 years, and that's if you can talk a judge into giving you a break.
If you are found guilty of sending or possessing a nude photo of a minor, you can be required to register as a sex offender. In fact, if you are 16 years old or 17 years old, it is mandatory that you have to register your address every single year for 10 years.
That means wherever you live, you need to register with the sheriff. Depending upon what level of sexual registration you have or you're given, depending upon how many times you do this, you could be a sexual registrant. You could have to register for the rest of your life. You're not going to be able to get any jobs in the nursing field or in the educational field if you are a sexual registrant. Your college admissibility, if they had a choice between taking you as a sexual registrant or somebody who didn't commit any crimes like this, who do you think they're going to take?
It can be nothing but a negative factor. You know, you look at someone's juvenile history and you see something that's involved with, let's call it gross sexual imposition or something like that. I can imagine that that's an automatic job killer. Or it can be a bar to any kind of financial aid, or I'm sure it would be a prohibiting factor for someone getting into school.
When an employer does a background check, they're going to hear that you are a registered sex offender. That's all really they're probably going to know. And certainly as soon as they see registered sex offender, their first reaction is, we're not hiring that person. Typically there's not going to be a chance for you then to have an interview and say, well, let me explain why I'm a registered sex offender. It really isn't what it sounds like. It wasn't so bad. No, you aren't going to get that opportunity.
Think about what you're doing. Think about what the ramifications are before you do that. Do I want to send this to somebody? Would I take pictures of myself and put it all over the school? Well, when you do that on a cell phone and it goes into a computer, it goes all over the world.
Most of the kids that get involved in this, it's by sheer ignorance of the law. They don't understand what the law says they can or can't do, and then they certainly don't understand the gravity of the consequences. So when you think of that aspect of it, education becomes incredibly important. They need to know right now in the 9th grade, the 10th grade, the 11th grade, even the 12th grade, that this is illegal to be done, because without that knowledge, people are going to plead ignorance all the way through.
If someone sends you one of these nude photos, first off, if you know that's what it is, don't open it. Delete it. Report it. Tell a teacher. But if you unknowingly open something and you have a nude photo, now technically you are violating the law. However, if you immediately go to a teacher, if you're at school, for example, or go to your parent who can then contact the police, if you immediately report that, it's going to be less likely that you will be charged with the crime. Sending a nude photo, receiving one, taking nude photos, it is a serious crime. And I have to tell you as the prosecutor that it could really affect the rest of your life in a very negative way. So please think about that. Don't do it. Do not destroy your future.
There are a number of pending court cases that seek to make sexting a misdemeanor rather than a felony, and certain legislators are trying to give juvenile judges greater flexibility in sentencing those who are convicted. But until then, you are at significant risk every time you take, open, or forward a nude photo. Play it smart. Use your cell phone to keep your freedom, not lose it. Thanks for watching.